Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another Sunday School Review. Boy, we got a Sunday School lesson today that is somebody that just simply would not give up. And boy, they had their mind made up, their heart was fixed until they got what they wanted to get from God. They kept on praying and they didn't worry about how they looked. We're talking about Hannah tonight, today for Sunday School. Hannah, the faithful supplicant. She made a request to the Lord and she didn't let go. Let's get right on into it. 1 Samuel chapter 1, verse 9 through 20, and it drops down to 25b. So let's get right on into it. So Hannah rose up early after they had eaten in Shiloh and after they had drunk. Now Eli, the priest, sat upon a seat by a post of the temple of the Lord. And she was in bitterness of soul and prayed unto the Lord and wept sore. And she vowed a vow and said, O Lord of hosts, if thou would indeed look upon the affliction of thine handmaid, and remember me, and not forget thine handmaid, but would give unto thy handmaid a man child, then I will give him unto the Lord all the days of his life, and there shall no razor come upon his head. And it came to pass, as he continued praying before the Lord, that Eli marked her mouth. Now Hannah, she spake in her heart, only her lips moved, but her voice was not heard. Therefore Eli thought she had been drunken. And Eli said unto her, How long wilt thou be drunken? Put away the wine from thee. Boy, he made a mistake, didn't he? And Hannah answered and said, No, my Lord, I am a woman of a sorrowful spirit. I have drunk neither wine nor strong drink, but have poured out my soul before the Lord. Count not thine handmaiden for a daughter of Belial, but for out of the abundance of my complaint and grief have I spoken hitherto. Then Eli answered and said, Go in peace, and the God of Israel grant thee thy petition that thou hast asked of him. And she said, Let thine handmaid find grace in thy sight. So the woman went her way, did eat, and her countenance was no more sad. And they rose up in the morning early and worshiped before the Lord and returned and came to their house to Ramoth. And Elkanah knew Hannah, his wife, and the Lord remembered her. Wherefore it came to pass when the time was come about after Hannah had conceived, that she bare a son and called his name Samuel, saying, Because I have asked him of the Lord. And they, verse 25b, and they brought the child to Eli. In your Sunday school book, you see a very beautiful picture. How has God blessed your faithfulness? And all of us can do a better job being faithful to the Lord. I know we can. I know I can. I'm sure I got a witness in the class that can say, yes, I can be more faithful to the Lord. If I'm as faithful to the Lord as I am to my job, things have really changed and shift in the kingdom for the little small part that I would do and enroll in and making sure that that takes place. Let's get right on into it. A lot of good commentary here, but we're not going to be able to go into all great detail, but we're going to cover as much as possible inside of 30 minutes. So the first part of our verse, part one, is anguish prayer. This is in 1 Samuel 1, 9 through 16. We're going to look at verse 9 first. And this verse really captures the transition from a family meal to a profound spiritual moment. After eating and drinking down there in Shiloh, Hannah leaves the meal, get up and leave the meal to go pray. Then Eli, the priest, the man of God, sits near the doorpost of the Lord's temple. You know, he's connected to the Lord, but he gonna miss something, you're gonna see in a few minutes. And this moment sets the stage, one of the what's called the most powerful, well-known narratives in all of the Bible. First of all, we see the setting, Shiloh. And this was the central sanctuary of Israel at that time. It was where the Ark of the Covenant, the presence of the Lord, was housed, the home for the Ark, before they moved on to Jerusalem. And now we see the conflict. Hannah then is deeply troubled. She is anguished because she can't have no baby. She's barren, and she was provoked, not to love, provoked because she had a rival wife. You know that Elkanah, her husband, had two wives, Peninnah, and Peninnah was like a thorn in Hannah's flesh. Then we see the interaction that took place. So Hannah raised up from her meal and to pour out not her food, but to pour out her soul in prayer, because she's praying without saying anything, not just moving her lips. Eli, the man of God, mistaked her for being drunk, but she declared, telling Eli, this prophet, I am not drunk. So it led Eli then to have to bless her. I don't know if he was embarrassed, ashamed that he missed it so bad. I don't know what it was, but he ended up blessing her. Then we see the vow. So this prayer then includes Hannah's vow to dedicate that boy when he get here, to dedicate him to God's service. That's going to result in him being born and her naming him Samuel. That's just kind of the setting of verse number 9 here. It kind of sets up the stage for this lesson for the day. Then we see Hannah's plea. In 1 Samuel 1, verses 10 and 11, we see a very deeply distressed and barren woman. As you know, her name is Hannah, and Hannah prays to God with intense weeping. I mean, crying that is beyond, a deep, deep cry. And she makes a vow to the Lord that she can't take back. You know how that, you heard that song. I made a vow to the Lord and I won't take it back. And she grants that if God grants her a son, she was going to dedicate that boy's entire life to the Lord, and she ain't going to never cut that boy's hair. That was a big statement there, but she was in desperation, but she meant what she said. So this then is a pivotal biblical moment, and it establishes some details here. So let's look at the context of her prayer. Number one, emotional anguish. Hannah was at this point experiencing bitterness in her soul. You know, when your soul get trouble, that's who you are. Your soul is, so much stuff is inside your soul. That's your personality. You're inside your soul. Your will and your emotions and all this stuff is tied up inside you. Her soul got tied. Bitterness of soul and weeping in anguish because she couldn't have no children. Back at that time, you have no kids. They thought something is desperately wrong. Somebody done did something wrong somewhere. So let's look at then the petition back at that time. The petition. She pleaded with the Lord of hosts, which is the God of armies, to look upon her affliction and to remember her and give her a man child. She wanted a boy. She didn't ask for no girl. She wanted a man child. And so the vow then was the Nazarite dedication is what this vow was. Total dedication. She promised that if God gave her a son, she's going to give that boy back to the Lord, not for 10 days, not for 10 months, not for 5 years, but for his entire life. Total dedication. Then we see the Nazarite sign. She vowed that no razor was going to come up. That boy ain't going to never cut that boy's hair. And this meant that the child would be set apart as a Nazarite from birth. A lifelong vow of devotion to God involves specific restrictions, such as he can't drink no liquor. Okay, I'm just put it to you that way. Don't drink no wine. That was that because he was going to be a Nazarite, set aside, set apart. I like to say something, but I ain't gonna do it. I'm gonna keep it moving. I'm gonna keep it moving. Eli's assumption. This is 1 Samuel 1, verse 12 through 14. Hannah is praying, and I'm gonna repeat some things here now, again, to be redundant. She was praying down in the temple in deep anguish. Boy, she was pouring her heart out to God. But only her lips were moving. And the man of God, Eli, so that woman down there, it don't make no sense. She down there drunk. He came and rebuked the lady and asking her, how long you gonna sit around here intoxicated? You know, sometime you can miss it. I don't care how much you think you praying real deep and all this here, but when you miss it, just admit you missed it. You know, because some folks, I'm the man of God. I'm the woman of God, and I didn't miss it. And try to explain it away, and all of you, they just missed it. But pride would not let a person admit when they're wrong. Well, anyway, this is a very memorable biblical exchange here, uh, and because we see a profound moment of raw, silent prayer. Some folk think you got to holler and squeal along. Oh Lord, yes, here I come before you as an empty pitcher before you, a fountain of living water. You just impressing yourself on it more than anybody. So here's the scene of the context. Hannah was anguished. He was upset. She was disturbed in her soul. And Hannah was praying with intense sorrow because she was barren and she was severely provoked by the other wife, Peninnah. You know, Elkanah had two of them. And one of them was having all kind of children, or we say back home, chillins, but the other one, Hannah, was not having any, and she was teasing her. So then we see Eli's misunderstanding, the man of God. It's highly unusual in that culture for somebody to pray such a deep, personal, quiet, fervent prayer in a fervent manner with just, and not, you don't hear nothing. So what Eli did was what a lot of us do, jump to a conclusion. Y'all know we've done that before. Boy, I know what's going on down there. I already know. You ain't got to tell me. I mean, I just put it together. You can put two and two together. You can't always put two and two together. You see, so be careful when you say stuff you don't know what you're talking about, right? Speaking don't have all the information. Giving advice don't have all the information. That's a whole nother lesson. So now we see the resolution. Hannah explains to the man of God, she ain't drunk. She's praying. And she's pouring out her soul to God. And this resulted in something on the other side of Eli. He didn't get to arguing with her because now he saw that he was wrong. He missed it, one thing. And so what he did then was he blessed her. And then sooner or later, she had a child, Samuel. But I also don't see where Hannah started arguing with Eli. I ain't drunk, you wrong. None of that. Because she respected the man of God. Although he was wrong, he missed it. But she didn't get into a big debate with him because he missed it. In verse 16 and 17, Hannah defends herself in a humble way to Eli the priest, who had accused her of being drunk. She brings some clarification to this situation. That she said she's a deeply troubled woman, pouring out her soul and her heart to God in anguish and in grief, but she was not intoxicated. And I want to repeat this over and over again because this bears the need to repeat it. When you miss it, you missed it. And be man and woman enough to admit you was wrong and quit trying to prop it up, trying to make it come to pass. And you just missed it. That takes humility. I'm going to read what the New International Version says in this verse, in verse 15, 16. Not so, my Lord, Hannah replied. I am a woman who is deeply troubled. I have not been drinking wine or beer. I was pouring out my soul to the Lord. Do not take your servant for a wicked woman. I have been praying here out of my great anguish and grief. How you think it made him feel when she brought those humble but so true words to him as a man of God? So look at the context and the meaning of this verse. Number one, the misunderstanding. Again, repeating this again now, redundant. Hannah was praying silently, moving her lips, but making no sound. And she desperately pleaded to the Lord, God Almighty, for a son, which led Eli to mistakenly think she was drunk. We need to say that over and over again. Because so many people, so many folks in the house of God has been saved for a long time, and they think they got spiritual seniority and rank and can't make no mistakes. You're going to make them. And when you make them and do something, say something crazy, I mean, some crazy stuff, just admit it. So the heart of prayer. Her response highlights a profound definition of prayer: pouring out, pouring out, pouring out one's soul before God, displaying vulnerability, displaying raw emotions in times of deep distress. Don't care how they look, eyes running water, snot everywhere, slobbing and going on, mouth and turning white, dry mouth. Don't care nothing about none of that. Trying to get an answer from the Lord. You see, so many folks, when they need something real bad, you wonder they need it. So do they need it for real? Because they so cool with it. Praying cool, a cool prayer. So now we see the resolution. So she was moved, and so moved by her explanation. The man of God was moved by explanation. Eli then displays some grace, telling her to go in peace and that God would grant her request. Okay, calm down. Go on to the house. Go on back down there. The Lord's going to give you what you want. And she believed the man of God that humbled himself and corrected himself. And then blessed his woman. And then God blessed the whole situation. And in the part 2 of our lesson, we see kindle hope in verse 17 through 20. In verse 17 through 20, it describes a turning point in the story of Hannah. Trusting God, Hannah's sadness goes away. And she goes back down to the house with her husband, Elkanah. And they get together. You know what to do. Grown folks. And then she got pregnant and gave birth to Samuel. And Samuel's name means ask of God. Ask of God. So this verse then details the transition from sorrow to answered prayer. And there's some key verses here, 4 key verses. Verse 17, Eli tells Hannah, go in peace, and prays that the God of Israel will grant, this word here, grant the specific request that she had made of him. And I would encourage the class, we're seeking things for the Lord. Let's be specific in what we're asking the Lord for. There are some young men looking for a wife. Not a dress tail, what we say back home. You're looking for a wife. And there are some young women looking for a husband. Not a joker, a husband. Be specific in asking the Lord for what you want. Okay? Verse 18, Hannah receives this blessing with gratitude, asking that the servant find favor in his sight. So then we see Hannah is reassured then, and she went on back down to her place, to her quarters, and then her face changed from what we used to call back home a lone face. She wasn't downcast anymore. Everything had changed. Her belief system had been lifted because the man of God corrected himself and then blessed the woman, the woman, and she changed her whole, your face tell you a whole lot. Person's face, you look at the face, tell you a whole lot about what's really going on for real, for real. In verse 19, the family got up real early and they gave God the glory. They worshiped the Lord, got on the journey, went back home to Ramah. And then Elkanah, as I just mentioned, sleeps with his wife Hannah, and God remembers her. Not that he forgot her. God remembers the prayers that she had prayed. He didn't forget them. He remembers he granted her request. Then in verse 20, we see in due time. Don't forget those three words there, in due time. Prayed, asked the Lord. The man of God blessed her. It didn't happen right away, in due time. And in the church now, we forget about, we don't like them three words, in due time. There was something that she had to do after the prayer, and in due time, the Lord came in and did what he had to do as well and blessed her. And so she conceives, gives birth to a boy, to a son. She named that boy Samuel, again, explaining, because I asked the Lord for him. That's a big deal. In the third part of our lesson, we see fulfilling the vow in 1 Samuel 1:25. We're going to bring it on to a close, get through a little bit early tonight, or the day for Sunday school. I'm recording this at night, but you'll see it. It's for Sunday. 1 Samuel 1:25 describes the moment that Hannah and her husband Elkanah brought this little boy, this young son Samuel, down to the church, the tabernacle down there in Shiloh. And after sacrificing a bull offering to the Lord, they presented the child to Eli, the priest, to fulfill her vow to dedicate this boy to the service of the Lord. So what's the context then of this passage? First of all, the vow. So before this boy was born, Hannah had already prayed. We just went over that over and over again. She prayed from her heart, her whole soul, fervently at the temple in Shiloh. She made a promise to the Lord that if he gave her a boy, a man child, she was going to dedicate this boy to his service, not for 15, 20 months, 3 or 4 or 5 years, for his entire life. That was a promise. Now we see the presentation. So once Samuel was weaned, the family traveled back down to Shiloh with their offering. What kind of offering? A bull and some flour and wine. And verse 25 really captures then the climax of this whole journey. The sacrifice was made and the child was handed over. This child she had prayed for all this time was handed over to the man of God, Eli, to begin his work, his whole life at the sanctuary. That was his dedication for life. And so we see now the fulfillment as we kind of bring this to a close here, that right after this verse here, immediately following this verse, in verse 26 through 28, which is not in our printed text, Hannah reminds Eli of her earlier prayer, reminds the man of God. You know what happened a few months ago, some time ago, you already know. You thought I don't know what you told him. You thought I was drunk and going on. I was tore up. I wasn't tore up. I was praying, I told you, you saw it, you blessed me. But you know what I told you back at that time? Man of God, priest, what did I tell you? Declaring that if God granted me my request and gave me this boy, I was going to surrender him to the Lord for his entire life. You see, the thing that we see in the body of Christ now, that folks, once they get what they want, good evening. Lord, you give me a job, if you give me a good job, I declare I'm going to be at church. I'm going to come every Sunday. Then it's time unwind. Lord, you give me a good job, I'm going to come to Sunday school too. And Lord, I declare you give me Miss Right now, give me a good wife or a good husband. We're going to be in Sundays, we're going to be in Bible class together, sitting beside one another. If I ain't working, I'm going to be there. They get that job and they show up for about 3 months, 4 months, and you don't see them no more. Lord, I promise you, if you heal my body, I'm racking with pain. But if you heal my body, Lord, I'm never gonna miss service again. I'm gonna get in the choir, I'm gonna sing. I'm gonna sing Heaven Down. They go to the doctor, get a good report. The doctor says, you're doing much better now than you've done your entire life. Don't worry about it no more. Just, you're going to be all right. Come and see me again in a year from now. As soon as they start feeling good, they start eating all kind of other food that they told them not to eat again. They start eating all that stuff again. A whole bunch of fat back and ham hock and pork chop all over again because they done got used to it and forgot what they said. Lord, I promise you, if you can just stop these headaches, and I'll come and I'll take notes in every service. Headache stop. First, it started coming in late. Just come in late like it ain't nothing. Just come in late. Don't no conscience. I get that when I get there. Your head done stop hurting, and you forgot what you said. When you make a vow to the Lord, class, don't play with it, because the Lord knows the end, and He knows that in the beginning. Don't forget that now. He already knows when we say what we say, if we're going to do what we say we're going to do. He also knows that if we're talking loud and ain't saying nothing. The Lord's been good to all of us. He brought us all from a mighty long ways. And it'll do us well to say, Lord, help me. Help me to be more consistent. We're doing better now than we've ever done before. Many of us don't just have a male child or a female child. The Lord done gave you that, done gave us houses, cars, making more income than we've ever made in our entire life, making more than our parents made, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 10 times over, 11 times more, and don't have time for the Lord. We got a long ways to go, church. You hear me? And we ain't got a long time to get there. Lord, if you would, I will. Lord, if you will, I will. Lord, if you would, I would. We done said all that stuff, and we've forgotten about it. We talk about Israel. Oh, Israel was up and down. If I saw the Lord open the Red Sea, if I saw the Lord turn a pole to a snake with like Moses, if I saw the Lord do what He did for the men and women back at that time, open the blind eyes and the deaf can hear and the lame can walk. Boy, ain't nowhere in the world. Relative to what's doing now, it is a way in the world, and the church is doing it over and over again, making a vow to the Lord and then taking it back. Hey, look, thank y'all for attending the class this week. We look forward to seeing you again next week for our next Sunday School Review. Y'all take care.